Dear students, greetings for the day. Today we will study about airline catering part 2. Effective interaction between the caterer and cabin crew is particularly important. The senior cabin crew member acts as the interface with the caterer and should supervise the delivery of catering supplies onto the aircraft. It is therefore important that the cabin crew be informed of the type of service and what is being delivered on board, so that they are in a position to ensure that the delivery corresponds to the airline's catering order, ACO. Cabin crew are the airline management's link with the performance of the caterer, and it is therefore essential that they report to the station manager any discrepancies with respect to the delivery and quality of catering supplies. This will allow the airline to review problems with the caterer and to avoid recurrences. It is extremely important for the caterer to pay very close attention to the freshness and quality of all food loaded onto aircraft, and especially to perishable items. The caterer must ensure that food is properly refrigerated at all times. Normally, neither the loading vehicles nor the aircraft galley compartments are refrigerated, so all trolleys must be cooled to below 8 degrees Celsius. This temperature can be achieved in one of two ways. 1. By packing the top of each trolley with dry ice packs. 2. By giving each trolley a blast from a carbon dioxide until the food has been loaded onto the aircraft and signed for by the cabin crew. The airline is responsible for supplying the catering provider with all necessary equipment, including dishes, eating utensils, service trays, trolleys, aircraft ovens and liquid jugs. The catering provider must ensure that no equipment is dispatched to an aircraft in an unserviceable condition and must withdraw from service any defective items or equipment. Airlines must ensure that careful hygiene procedures are in place for the cleaning of equipment between flights. Different equipment requiring cleaning includes trolleys, boxes, trays, crockery, cutlery, laundry. Airlines must ensure that procedures are in place for the replenishment of supplies between flights. Different items requiring replenishing include beverages coffee tea, condiments, sugar, cream, plastic cups, glasses, duty-free and bar items. The concept of in-flight catering has undergone a change. On one hand, the no-frills low-cost airlines are successfully enhancing their economy-only air traveler base by offering low airfares to the price-sensitive leisure travel segment. In exchange, as part of their overall cost reduction strategy, they propose a reduced on-board service. Additional revenue can then come from the sale of on-board catering. Whether it is a no-frills low-cost airline, or a legacy carrier, to ensure that airline catering activities are running smoothly, the station manager should keep regularly updated computerized records. This includes making sure that 1. The correct procedures with regard to ordering and checking goods are observed at all times. 2. The billing system for the various catering operations is in place and running satisfactorily as mentioned earlier in this module. Some airlines run their food catering operations on an in-house basis, while others contract such activities out to private caterers. Regardless of which system his airline chooses to employ, there are certain matters which must be overseen by the station manager. As such, the station manager has a number of ordering duties. He must ensure that 1. The correct number of meals is ordered for every flight. 2. Overordering of meals is minimized for any flight. 3. The catering unit is kept informed of any special catering requests for flight crew and passengers on each flight. The station manager must ensure that satisfactory checking procedures are in place and that they are performed regularly and satisfactorily. These procedures relate to 3 main areas: 1. In-flight meals, 2. Cleanliness, 3. Catering equipment. Quality control must be thorough and rigorous due to the fact that most in-flight meals are produced using the cook-chill process. The danger represented by the potential growth of harmful microorganisms which might cause food poisoning cannot be ignored under any circumstances. As a result, one of the station manager's duties is to ensure that microbiological testing is carried out on a routine basis. Normal procedure involves taking a sample meal from each batch and testing the samples in a laboratory immediately. Any adverse findings must, of course, be acted upon promptly. Presentation of aircraft meals must also be of a consistently high standard. Each meal is chosen by the airline and photographed for future reference. The station manager should ensure that he himself, one of his staff, or the head chef routinely checks a set number of meals from each batch against the appropriate photographs. Deviations from the required standard should be reported immediately and steps must be taken to prevent them from recurring. It is important that the food production areas of the catering unit be kept extremely clean. The station manager should ensure that these areas comply with the required standards. It would be recommended practice for senior staff to regularly submit report forms outlining the level of cleanliness of staff, areas and equipment. Any faults can then be quickly identified and resolved. The station manager has a number of duties with regard to the equipment used in airline catering activities. He must ensure that equipment usage is carefully monitored. He must ensure that the caterer does not employ any of the airline's equipment for his own private purposes. This means making certain that the caterer, whether contracted or in-house, keeps complete and reliable inventories of all items used in the production of meals in the food production unit. It is also necessary to keep inventories of equipment used during the in-flight meal service. The station manager must ensure that the large array of equipment employed during airline catering activities is properly cleaned and maintained. Ideally, the station manager should check these inventories on a monthly basis, so that any irregularities are quickly identified. If a surplus of any particular items is noticed, the station manager must arrange for them to be sent to the airline's home base. Similarly, if any equipment shortages are identified, that is items which are either understocked or missing, arrangements must be made for rapid replenishment. (5) The station manager must regularly check that the areas in which the various items of equipment are stored are properly maintained and clean, and that equipment is arranged in an orderly manner. These storage areas should be dust-proof. The station manager must ensure that a dependable billing system, covering the entire range of catering activities and services, is securely in place. Every month senior catering staff must provide the following information: number of meals uplifted according to orders, commissary charges per aircraft type to cover bar and duty-free items, tray building, newspapers, etc., transport charges per aircraft type. In the airline business, the safety of passengers and crew is an absolute must. It applies to every aspect of airline travel, including food. Every airline must ensure that food being served on their flights is prepared according to methods that protect the health and safety of passengers and crew. Also, since passenger satisfaction is always a concern for airlines, they must ensure that the caterers they contract are operating their facilities effectively so that the airline's in-flight food meets passengers' quality expectations. However, because the industry uses multiple standards and audit methodologies, effective monitoring of the safety and quality of food being served can be costly and difficult. With regard to catering activities, hygiene is, of course, an extremely important consideration. Personal hygiene is a necessary ingredient for the health and well-being of individuals. Public hygiene, for example food control, is necessary to ensure the health of groups of people, such as passengers on an airplane. It is essential, therefore, that every station manager be aware of the hygiene procedures and standards required to guarantee the safety and well-being of both passengers and crew. The following section deals with the basics of food-related hygiene. It is divided into two main parts: personal hygiene and food handling hygiene. To prevent contamination of foodstuffs, a very strict standard of personal hygiene must be observed by all cabin crew handling food in the aircraft galleys. All cabin crew members should undergo medical screening when they first join the airline. On a daily basis, the two single most important elements of personal hygiene for cabin crew are general body care and, most importantly, the cleanliness of their hands. Washing hands. Clean hands are essential, especially when working around food, as they come into frequent contact with foodstuffs and surfaces. Dirty hands easily spread bacteria and may contaminate food intended for consumption by passengers. Cabin crew employees' hands must be washed whenever they are dirty and, before starting work, frequently during work, after breaks, after handling raw materials, after using the toilet. As mentioned previously, hygiene is of maximum importance where food is involved. Therefore, When handling food, cabin crew must adhere to the following guidelines in order to prevent food spoilage or contamination and ensure the well-being of both passengers and crew. A. Never touch the food itself. B. Ensure that food on board the aircraft is properly stored. For example, milk should not be left out on the counter. C. Never mix waste with food supplies. When food does become contaminated by foreign objects, it is important that a procedure is in place for reporting this incident. In the event that a foreign object is located in a food item on a flight and it is designated as a non-threatening object, like a small fruit fly or a piece of hair, a report may be filed by the in-flight crew leader. This will depend on the severity of the incident. Although these are generally non-threatening objects, if for example hair is regularly found in the products of a particular caterer, this could be a serious problem with the hygiene practices at their facility and could upset customers. In the event of a dangerous object, then the case will be escalated to the station manager. Objects that would not be reasonably transferred by accident to food, such as needles or larger shards of glass, and pose major health concerns will be classified as dangerous objects. This type of incident must be addressed immediately in the air. The staff will report what happened and the station manager should then meet the passenger and/or staff member who first identified the item and conduct interviews. The International Flight Services Association stipulates that the object too is part of the investigation and should be identified and marked unsafe product. Some passengers have important special meal requests. For example, some passengers may be allergic to certain food products or others may not eat meat due to religious and/or ethical reasons. In order to promote worldwide special meal definition standardization, in-flight services has led an initiative to provide special meal definitions and code guidelines, based on the conclusions of its members. At the time of print, coded 21 special meals, including 6 vegetarian meals. Whilst passengers' special meal needs should be handled at the time of reservation, and reflected on the passenger information list, cabin crew should be familiar with the characteristics of the different meal types in order to be able to identify such meals and respond appropriately to passenger needs.